Hello, and welcome to today's webinar, BIM 360 Glue for AE Design. This Hangout is brought to you by Applied Software, the premier software systems integrator in North America. I am Mark Mincy, and I'm delighted to be your moderator today. Today we'll be highlighting how to effectively use Autodesk BIM 360 Glue for architectural and engineering design. It's a really exciting topic, and I'm glad we were able to do a presentation on this. Throughout our presentation, we encourage you to interact with us by typing in questions and comments using the questions pane. We will be answering the questions at the end of the presentation. This webinar is being recorded and will be available to you online on our YouTube channel. We will also send you an email following the webinar with a link to the recording. If you haven't already, search Applied Software on Facebook and like our page to receive the latest information and special offers. When you visit our website, asti.com, there's a complete schedule of our upcoming events, webinars, trainings, and much more. Following the Q&A at the end of the webinar, we will give away a $25 Visa gift card. You must be present to win the gift card. Now a little bit about Applied Software. Applied Software is a platinum level Autodesk reseller, which has won many Autodesk awards for excellence. The platinum level is the highest level Autodesk reseller and is achieved by demonstrating an ability to deliver the highest level of solution expertise, service, support, and customer satisfaction. Applied Software also provides other solutions for architectural, engineering, construction, manufacturing, and the simulation markets. Now is an exciting time with Autodesk introducing the 2017 software. Here we have several of our upcoming webinars. We have the AutoCAD Civil 3D 2017, its new features, and that's on May 10th. We have one about harnessing the power of Subscribe to Autodesk, and then another one on the new features for the Building Design Suite. Again, here's some key highlights and workflows. You'll want to make sure you attend those. We also have a couple on upcoming events. So if you're in or near Jackson, Mississippi, please attend the Future of Building Things on May 12th. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our presenter. He is a senior AEC technical consultant and has been my joy to work with Rick on numerous projects for our satisfied customers. He has several decades of work experience working as an architect and Revit instructor. And one of the exciting projects Rick was working on as of late was the BIM execution plan for the University of Central Florida. Today, he will leverage his own experience using Revit to share his experience to share that with you so you too can leverage your experience with Glue. Please join me in welcoming today's speaker, Rick Kramer.
Thank you, Mark. Welcome everyone to today's session on BIM 360 Glue for AE, for architects and engineers. I'm really excited that you're here with me today. We're going to go until 1:30, and I'm going to make sure to do a hard stop 10 minutes before 1:30 for questions and answers, and at that point in time I'll be able to answer any questions you have. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. I'm going to do a short PowerPoint presentation and then go into a hands-on demo of BIM 360 Glue. Autodesk BIM 360 Glue, as you see in the little presentation here, is really used during the pre-construction and construction execution process. It is really used for the entire process of construction documents and even into construction. Here are some common misunderstandings and questions that I've received over the years here on working with BIM 360 Glue, some of which are specifically designed towards or targeted towards BIM 360 Glue versus Navisworks Manage. And some of the top 5 questions or misunderstandings have been is BIM 360 is only for BIM managers. Not true. BIM 360 is a series of point solutions with a fancy name. Actually, that was a true question. That's not true. BIM 360 is only for contractors using 3D and BIM processes. That is untrue as well. BIM 360 is difficult to learn. Untrue. And finally, a question was, will BIM 360 Glue allow me to share my model without sharing my Revit files? And this is a really, really good question because a lot of architects and engineers really don't want to or are not at the point of sharing their Revit model and working on a live model together. BIM 360 Glue allows you to send your models up to the cloud, which you'll see later on, in a format that allows all the team members to access the model without actually having access to your Revit project. It really keeps your Revit project intact. Some differences between BIM 360 Glue and Navisworks Manage is BIM is really easy to use. You'll see in just a little bit how easy it is. If you have Revit or AutoCAD, we're specifically going to be looking at Revit today and looking at the add-in built into Revit 2016. In Revit 2017, it is already included. You don't have to add it in after the fact. There's also Glue Mobility on the iPad, which I have to say is really easy and fun to use. A lot of general contractors and architects are using it when they're going out into the field and using punch lists and doing a virtual punch list on their iPad and marking things up. Glue is also multidisciplinary and allows coordination on the cloud. What this means is that you can take over 50 different type of file formats and upload it to the cloud and allow the BIM 360 Glue cloud to coordinate everything. If you're familiar with Navisworks itself, Navisworks is a desktop application, and BIM 360 Glue, think of it as Navisworks Lite, and it's cloud-based. Glue is also great for making up makeup tool for Revit models, in other words, to draw red lines. And it also notifies the end users to take action. You'll see in just a little bit when I do the hands-on demo how this is used. It's really, really quite simple. It also streamlines clashes and sets based on Revit categories. So you can basically run clash detection, or what I call avoidance detection, early on by specifically targeting different parts of your building. Let's say structure versus mechanical, walls versus structure, walls versus piping, windows versus structure, anything you need. And lastly, Glue does not publish reports like Navisworks Manage. So one of the big differences is Navisworks is a full-blown application with Timeliner and a lot more reporting capabilities than BIM 360 Glue. But you really, really get a lot for your money on BIM 360 Glue. BIM 360 Glue gives you the ability to do project coordination easily. If there's anything you come away from this seminar, is that it gives you the ability to do coordination easily and share, view, and search models anywhere, anytime. How does that increase production coordination? It enables you to access the process and the project data anywhere from any device. You can deliver information to anyone on the project team via the cloud. You can connect multidisciplinary teams across AEC through the cloud and incorporate all of their drawings in one format. This provides a shared database for project information spanning pre-construction all the way to handing over the project to the client. And lastly, and most importantly, is the ability to analyze data live throughout the entire construction drawing process. It's really, really neat. BIM 360 anytime, anywhere access, I can't stress enough, enables you to visualize and walk through your model and look at collisions or avoidances and see how things are put together in your project between different team members within the office through an office browser or out in the field using an iPad. And by the way, you do not have to have Wi-Fi on all the time. You must, though, before leaving a Wi-Fi area, download these small files onto your iPad where you can do the markups, and then once you return back to a Wi-Fi enabled hotspot, you can then push your information from the iPad back up to the cloud. But if you have a iPad that already has a cell phone service, then it's not an issue. Next is, how is BIM management and collaboration achieved? Again, it's anytime, anywhere access. You have the ability to do notification and collaboration using BIM 360 Glue and real-time clash, or what I consider avoidance. Instead of looking at clashes, we'll look at how to avoid problems in the future. And it gives you the increased mobility to have this access anywhere. BIM 360 Glue enables one-click collaboration for all project stakeholders. This quick collaboration enables you to use simple tools that the project team can use to check their own work and rapidly make changes. One of the things that really is unique about BIM 360 Glue is that it's integration and design tools that allows you to use 50 different type of file formats. Think of it as the basically like a multi-lingual translator. This gives you the ability to look at any file format, not just Revit format. Now let's take a look at the typical production coordination walkthrough process. Typically, if you're working with a BIM manager, on the left-hand side you have the design team, the structural engineer, the architect, and MEP. Once all three of these have worked on their models, they typically might send this to a single person, that BIM manager. That BIM manager is then responsible for then uploading and sending every other day to different design members. This is a broken workflow. The reason being is that the different managers, the different team members are all reliant on the BIM manager. The BIM manager, he or she is the bottleneck of this workflow, making your process of working on drawings live inadequate. Taking it to BIM 360, this is a BIM glued enable work process. Quite frankly, everyone has access to the cloud information every day because it's not dependent on one person as the BIM manager. The BIM manager, the designer, the structural engineer, everyone has the ability to upload their models to the cloud, making each day the ability for the design team, the BIM manager, structural, and MEP to look and coordinate their models. This has to be one of the best features within Revit, BIM 360 Glue. Autodesk has provided us some numbers in showing how much momentum BIM 360 Glue has taken on just as of January of this year. This year, as an average per month, is 33.8 thousand users on Autodesk's BIM 360 Cloud. And the amount of projects managed on the cloud are 7.4 thousand projects. That's an amazing amount of projects. To give you an idea of some of the contractors and companies that are using it currently under the AE and contractors and owners are this right in front of you. An incredible amount, and there's even more. Now, let's get right to it. If you're ready, I know I am. Let's get to it. We're going to do the BIM 360 Glue live demonstration. So, if you have a pen and paper handy, this is now a good time to feel free to jot down some notes. So if you're ready, let's go. All right. To start off, you need Elmer's glue. And to do I'm just kidding. This is Autodesk's, not glue all BIM, but Elmer's glue. I just figured it'd be kind of funny to start at this point. All right, now let's go ahead and really get to the real glue, although Elmer's glue is great. Let's go ahead and do that. We're going to go in and start by just minimizing this and go into Revit. The storyboard is this. I'm the architect. I've designed my project in Revit. Over here within my project, I'm going to go through and create my model. Now, in this case, my model in 3D over here has my structure that I've placed myself as a placeholder, and also the design intent of my building. The idea here is that I've gone ahead and placed all my building elements, my exterior skin, my ceiling, my lights, and now what I need to do is coordinate the process between, let's say, my structural and MEP. At this point in the design process, step 2 is to send my project to my engineer. I'm going to go ahead and close this and now put the hat on of the MEP engineer. As the MEP engineer, what I'm going to do now is actually link in my architect's model in just a moment. Now, once we link in our model, I'm going to go ahead and bring in my model. What I've done now, I've already gone ahead and linked in my architect's model. And in my drawing as the MEP engineer, I've laid out my ductwork. Step 2 in creating the shared environment using BIM 360 Glue is to then isolate your 3D views. This is a critical part of BIM 360 Glue. I can't stress this enough. When you create 3D views, you want to have dedicated views that are used for uploading to BIM 360 Glue. You can change the perspective or anything of that nature here within that view, but you must maintain the same name for these 3D views. The reason being, you'll see in just a moment when we go through and make changes and update our model. Now, I'm going to take the hat off of the engineer. I've done my drawings, my mechanical, and even laid out some plumbing. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this. Step 2, or step 3, I forgot the steps, is the next step is to basically open up BIM 360 Glue. When doing this, as an administrator, you'll see in just a moment, we need to create a project. What we're going to do is invite the team members to our project. So I'll come over here to where my little picture is, click on Admin. This opens up a web page as the administrator for the hub. If you don't have a hub set up already, we have other seminars that show how to set this up. But the key is your hub name. You want to make sure to keep it specific enough, not generic, but specific enough to your company. Within the hub, you'll have projects. So after we create our hub, we're going to create a project. I'm going to simply click on the Create button, and over here I'm going to give it today's date, 2016. Let's just call it the month 04 and call it AE BIM. Give it a project value of 650,000. And next I have to assign project admins. What this means is we're going to invite different team members to our project, and this is the way that they're going to be able to go through and add information. So I have some people here that I'm going to add that's on my list. I'm going to add some of my coworkers here. And another gentleman. Lastly, each one of these, let's say, is our mechanical engineer, our structural engineer. You must also, don't forget to add yourself to this list. Here I am, Rick Kramer at ASTI. Next, we'll click on Add. What this does, it means that each one of these members are host admins, which will allow them to upload and make comments and create merged models, all within our project here. You want to make sure to verify that everyone here's email is correct, and then click on Create. What this will do is it'll send an email to that project team. Once you receive that email, you'll be able to open up and start to work on uploading to BIM 360 Glue. Let me just see if I get that email already in my Outlook. Since I'm already an admin, I did not receive that yet, but now what I need to do is just go ahead and close BIM 360 Glue. I'll just go ahead and close this. And close this. Next is to go back into our model. Now, as the MEP, I've already received an invite, and I can go ahead and start to glue my two views. The key here is I do not want to glue the view that has everything in it. I want to basically just glue my aspect, my work, my mechanical and plumbing. After you install the add-in for BIM 360 Glue, you'll notice under the add-in you have BIM 360. We're going to select Glue. Next, you might have to assign it to a project hub, and then what we're going to do is browse to our project. This is our 2016-04. And simply click on Add Views. I know this seems like a lot of steps, but the good thing is this is being recorded, so you can watch this over and over. Over here, what we're going to do is we're going to browse to the views that are saved in our Revit project. We want to select just our glued 3D views. So in this case, I'm going to select the ones with glue in front, which gives me the idea manually to know that this is the views that I'm going to select. I'll hit OK. Next, we have the option over here of DWF or NWC. The difference being is if you plan on using Navisworks, you want to go ahead and change this to an NWC. That way you can download the Navisworks file and bring it into Navisworks, which we'll touch on later on. Next, we're going to go ahead and click on More Options, and you want to make sure to not include rooms. The reason being is, in my opinion, when you bring in rooms, the rooms end up being these very large boxes. The boxes, even though they're a void, they're airspace that interferes with structure potentially, or mechanical, or lighting. And BIM 360 Glue sees that as a conflict, so we do not want to include rooms. Nor do we want to include the linked files, because we are basically going to link them together. And we'll go ahead and leave coordination, construction parts, and shared coordinates. We're going to go ahead and glue it. And what's happening in the background here is Revit is actually uploading this to BIM 360 Glue. And it says your models are being glued. We're going to go ahead and hit OK. And we're just going to wait just a moment or two for our model to be glued. Now, this usually doesn't take a long time, and especially on a small project, this shouldn't take a long time. You'll want to wait to get notification before continuing on. In this case, my gluing is complete, my glue is dry. So now I can go ahead and go to glue. But in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and hit OK. At this point, now I'm going to put the hat on of the architect. I'm going to go ahead and save this. And now as the architect, I'm going to glue my part of the model up to the cloud. Let's go ahead and close this. And I'll open up my architectural model. I hope you all are enjoying this so far. I can't hear anyone, but I'm sure everyone's loving this. So make sure if you have questions, put them in the chat box, and towards the very end, we'll answer them. Now, in this particular drawing, you'll notice that I have my drawing, and I've shown this in what I call X-ray mode. I've done a override so I can see inside my model. What I particularly need to do is look at gluing my structure. My view right here, I've isolated just my structural elements, and now what I'm going to do is go into add-ins and glue just the structural part. The idea here is that I'm going to glue just the parts of the building in whole sections or categories that'll enable me to do conflicts between one and the other. In this case, I want to do glue struct, NWC. Again, I'll check on more options and make sure that this is off, and using shared coordinates. We'll go ahead, if there was a folder, we can add folders here, but since there wasn't, I'm just going to leave it in the root of that, and I'll make sure that it's going to the correct hub and to the correct project, and click on glue. Now what's happening is Revit again is packaging our model and making it an NWC, which is a fraction of the size, enabling you to use this on an iPad. And we'll wait for our notification from BIM 360 Glue. If I had any jokes, I'd tell them to you right now, but I don't. And good, here we go. Our model has been successfully glued. Right from here, we're going to go ahead and go to glue. This will launch the browser and connect to Autodesk 360. And in just a moment, this will open up. And I'll go ahead and maximize this so everyone can see. The project that we're looking at right here is here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on our project. And you'll notice on the bottom over here, we have all these models, the individual structural model, plumbing, and mechanical. Let's take a look at each one of these, just one of them at a time, and then we're going to create a merged model. By clicking on the glue structural model, it's going to open up that model in a web browser. And give it a moment. And you'll see on the bottom over here, it is loading our NWC model into glue. And here it is. This browser over here, I want you to notice that it has our structural grid system, which is something I highly recommend that you place in your model. You want to have a structural grid system that allows you to also manually see where your items are in relationship to your structural grid. You'll notice the red and green over here are the same, just showing you the levels and our structure. Okay. Now, one of the things that we can do, and I'll go through this in just a moment, are our tools. As you can see here, there aren't that many. Again, I can't stress enough how simple this is, that you really don't have that many tools. So we're going to go ahead and just going to close this, go back to our main project. In this case, we have, again, our individual parts of the building. I'm going to go back into the project, and what we need to do next is create what's called a merged model. The merged model enables us to take the individual models and create a merged model where we can look for conflicts. This is the heart of BIM 360 Glue. Over here, you'll notice that you have the ability to click on these different aspects. In this case, what I want to do is do a merged model that is, let's say, just mechanical and structural. What over here I'll do is I will give it a name called Mech and Struct and click on Merge Models. Now what's happening in the background is online on the cloud, BIM 360 Glue is taking our models and merging them together. Now, you'll see in just a moment, ta-da, here is our model. Stripped away of the architectural building itself is just the two things that we're looking at. Now, right away, I can see that there's some conflicts here between my ductwork and structure. Now, imagine this as being a 10-story or 15-story building. This one might be hard to find. What we're going to do is I'm going to go through all the different things here, and we're going to end up with clashes, and I'll show you how to do that. The idea here is we're first going to click on Selection, and I can click on an object, right-click, and view its properties. Right-click gives you the ability to find out a lot of information, and this tells me it's my steel joist 18K6. So you can get project information simply by clicking on something. It highlights, and again, you can right-click. Now, next, we can use the Measure tool. The Measure tool allows us to measure like we would in Revit. In this case, we have a set of simple tools that we can measure point to point, an area, or the shortest distance. In this case, we might use that to manually go through and find out what distance this is that we need to move something. Next is Models. When we click on Models, you'll see that we have all of our individual models here. It also breaks it down into looking at individual categories of our individual model. Next is our views. Now currently we don't have any views, and what I'd like to do is show you how we can utilize creating views. To make views, simply, I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. I'm going to right-click and basically go through and create a view. There we go. And add a view. We're going to go ahead and give this a particular, let's say, bird's eye view and make it accessible to everyone. At this point, what I can do is I can also email this view to anyone on the design team. Next is the ability to make up markups. Right from the markup pane over here, I can simply come over here and create a markup on the fly. Over here, by clicking on Add, I get a new toolbar, and you see it's very user-friendly. I can select the color, I can put in text, a squiggle line, straight line, a line string, a circle, or erase. In this case, what I want to do is basically identify this area right here. I've kind of bubbled it, and I'll click on Save. What this does, it creates what's called a markup. Now, this markup can be viewed and be seen by everyone on the design team. I can change my view, and you'll notice it disappears because it's view dependent. Again, over here, I can create another markup. And just as an example, I'll show you what the circle. I can circle around this area right here, and it creates a circle. And I'll go ahead and hit Save. Now, these are two different type of markups that I've now included. Again, when I move, it disappears. Let's go ahead and click on Close. Next, let's go ahead and look at collisions. Right over here, we're going to skip over activities at this point, but activities gives us the abilities, if I click on this, to find out who has done what. And this, if my other team members had uploaded information, I would see what information they have done and when. Now I'm going to go ahead and click on clashes. The first thing I'm going to do is create a clash detection report. I'm going to click on Find Clashes, and over here I have the ability to compare one thing to another. What I'm going to do is, if you notice, I click on this arrow button down, I have the ability to drill down into particular aspects of my mechanical or of my structural. I can click on the top part and get everything below, or just look at W shapes or my bar joists. In this case, what I want to do is look at all of my mechanical systems versus all of my structural. I'm going to go and I can assign it a tolerance. That way, if there's anything less or greater than, let's say, 2 inches, it'll go ahead and find that collision. If it's less than 2 inches, it won't find it as a collision. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and put it back to 0. But you have that ability to put tolerances. Our name, we want to give this a particular name, and I'm going to call this mechanical versus structural. Okay, mechanical versus structural. Again, we're looking at mechanical versus structural systems, and I'm going to click on Find Clashes. What Revit's doing, I'm sorry, BIM 360 Glue is doing, it's going through, and the numbers over here indicate how many clashes. There's 23 clashes that it's found. You'll notice in my model all of these little orange dots. If I move my cursor and leave it over any one of them, it'll give you a number. The number is associated with this view right here. So for example, right over here is number 22. If I click on number 22, it'll actually zoom right to that spot. This is what people have been using all the time in Navisworks, and now with BIM 360 Glue, you have it at your fingertips, and it's so easy. At this point, it's identified this clash, and we can see that it is this particular duct hitting this particular 18K series ductwork. At this point, what I can do is, again, create a markup, and I can just use a little squiggle line over here. I can put in notes and comments, and the comment is here I'm going to say, please lower duct to avoid hitting structure. And this will be in my comments. This also gives me an ability to go through and make sure that this has not only been done, but gives the ability to create comments. Now, what I can do is notify my users of just this one clash. In this case, I don't want to do this for all of them one at a time, so what I can do is simply come over here click on all of them. By clicking on each one of these little boxes, I have the ability to then send each one of these at once. And we have all 23 highlighted. And I'll go ahead and send a notification. Right over here, I'll click on Notify. And here is the beauty of this. Instead of going into Outlook and sending an email to my team members, over here I can click on this little checkbox right here, and it'll send it to all my design team members. And I'm going to say, look at clashes between MEC and structural. I'll go ahead and hit send, and automatically Autodesk will send this notification out. I'll go ahead and hit OK. And my phone just buzzed, which means that I already received the notification. Let me go into my Outlook over here. Don't look at my other emails. But over here I have a notification from BIM 360 Glue. What's great about this is I don't have to worry about sending out an email. I can send it to everyone on the design team. And over here it tells me the information that I've written down. Look at the clashes between MEC and structural. If I click here, it'll open up the web browser that we currently have open, so you can visually see where these clashes are without being in front of Revit. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this. And now that we've ran our clashes, I'm going to go ahead and close this and close this. And by the way, there is no need to hit save. It happens automatically. What we're going to do now is pretend we are our MEP engineer. We're going to go over here and click on our mechanical engineer. And the process is we're going to basically go through and look at our clash report. And you'll see how easy this is. And we're just waiting for this to load. Now over here, what I'm going to do is basically come over here to my view. I will go to add-ins. And I'm not going to click on glue because I've already glued it to the cloud. Now I'm going to look at my clash pinpoints. I'll click on clash pinpoints and it'll automatically load the most current clash detection. I'll go ahead and select it and click on view. At this point, I want you to notice that it shows me all of my collisions. Oh my goodness. I can go ahead and click on one of them as an example. And I'll click on view selected. Hold on a minute, sorry. Clash pinpoint. We'll look at our clash, click on view selected, and there it is right there. Now, the way this works, it's kind of different. It identifies the one piece that you see in red as our ductwork. It's hidden the rest of the model, and the catch is you want to click on the object itself to basically select it, and then click on Show Model. What this gives us the ability to do is see it within the context of the rest of the model. Over here we can see that it is conflicting with our structural member. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop it down to 12 feet. As my MEP engineer, I'm going to go ahead and accept those changes. And now my ductwork is no longer hitting the joists. Now, to go back and make these changes back on the cloud, what I need to do is go back into my mechanical glue view, make sure to hit save. Okay. Then we're going to re-glue it. I'm going to click on glue, select the object that I want to update, and simply click on glue it. Now what this will come up and it'll say, hey, you already have a model there. Let's go ahead and update it, yes or no. And we want to go ahead and update it. Just like before, it's going through and compressing our model to an NWC format and uploading it to Autodesk AEC Glue. We're going to go ahead and click OK. And we're going to wait. In just a moment, we will get notification that it has been currently glued. Again, you want to make sure that this says successfully glued. If not, that means it hasn't gotten back and been glued successfully. Basically, you have to wait until the glue is dry. Now, what we can do is we'll go back to glue. And the great thing about this is you don't have to be the BIM manager. You can basically be anyone on the design team to run these clashes. We're going to open up BIM 360 Glue, and in just a moment we're going to go back to our collision report that we had created before and see if everything has been fixed. We're going to go ahead and open up our project. You see I have many projects, and as a design team member, as an architect or an MEP engineer or general contractor, you can be a member of several projects. Okay. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and open that, and we're going to open up our merged model. And I know what you're thinking, going, gosh, Rick, this takes a long time, but it's not. Plus, I'm sharing my screen with, looks like 74 people. Very exciting. So thank you again for joining. Now, what we're going to do is go to our clashes. I'm going to click on mechanical versus structural. It runs through and it loads everything. But I want you to notice that I still have these clashes. You're going to say, wait a minute, Rick, I thought you said that it's going to find everything. I want you to notice over here at the very top has this small little icon. You might miss it if you're not looking. This basically tells us that we have an out-of-date model. What we need to do is, it's basically notifying us that there's a newer model. We need to go ahead and refresh this. Okay. Now with that icon gone, we've refreshed this. And let's go ahead and rerun the report by clicking on this button right here. And if we did everything correctly, we should see that we have now, ta-da, 0 clashes. That's awesome. So basically, we've resolved 23 clashes. And now if we look at our model, we can see that our ductwork is now clear of our structural system. What's nice about this is also on the right-hand side over here, you can do walkthroughs. So I've seen general contractors and architects do walkthroughs through plenum spaces of just the structural system and mechanical, just to make sure that everything doesn't hit. Okay? Well, that is really it for our BIM 360 glue presentation. What I'd like to do is I'm going to go ahead and show you one more feature that is new within our BIM 360. I'm going to go back over here to PowerPoint. I hope you all have enjoyed this so far. And let me start the PowerPoint. The new feature over here in BIM 360 Glue with Navisworks 2017 is the following. You have more integration between Navisworks and saved views within BIM 360. So I'm going to go ahead and launch this short little video.
Navisworks 2017 continues to support synchronized shared views with BIM 360 Glue, providing real-time access across BIM 360 Glue connected clients. Shared views assist review and analysis activity in your BIM 360 Glue project team for closer collaboration. Shared views, created in any BIM 360 Glue connected client, retain view fidelity, including object visibility, object overrides, section planes, and boxes. Shared views can be saved directly in Navisworks. Shared views can be renamed and moved into folders. Shared views can be deleted if the user has the appropriate BIM 360 Glue permissions. Navisworks 2017 continues to support synchronized shared views with BIM 360 Glue, providing real-time access across BIM 360 Glue connected clients.
Very, very neat 2017 in Navisworks. And another little tip and trick over here I'd like to make sure everyone's aware of. If you haven't done so already, there's a new desktop app from Autodesk. This is a screenshot of the desktop app, and it's called Autodesk Desktop App. If you browse to it, basically through Autodesk's website, you can download this app, and it basically will maintain all of your updates for all of your products. And you can simply go through and be current on all of your projects all the time. Lastly, let me close up by telling you some of the financial benefits of Glue. It is cheaper than Navisworks. I'm not going to read these out verbatim, but your return on investment is quick. You're usually going to make this up on the very first project. Matter of fact, one of our clients in Jacksonville, which I'm not allowed to name, saved $25,000 this year on one project alone by catching an error before the construction documents were going out. And they attribute this totally 110% to using BIM 360 Glue. Now it is mandatory on all of their projects during QA and QC for them to do the coordination and not even wait to the very end, but to do it during the design process. And the BIM manager here will spend a lot less time merging, allowing everyone on the design team to be a part of the design process. Last, in conclusion, BIM 360 is easy to integrate, and you don't have to use all of Navisworks' capabilities. They've basically stripped it to its essence so that you can use this easy-to-use interface, ability to be used by anyone on the design team, increasing your workflow, and utilizing clash detection, or I call it clash avoidance, early and often. And you can also do walkthroughs. And lastly, one of the things that's not on my list here that I want to point out, it occurred to me last night at 2 o'clock in the morning, is that again, some architects and engineers do not want to share their Revit model, but want to be coordinated. This gives you the ability to upload your model to BIM 360 Glue, creates a Navisworks file or a DWF, basically keeping your project intact, and you don't have to worry about working on a shared project if you don't want to. So that's all I have. I'm going to leave you with 7 minutes for questions and answers. Thank you all for your time, and I hope you learned something.
Thank you very, excuse me. Thank you very much, Rick. I do appreciate that. I quite enjoyed watching that. We do have several questions, but do want to encourage everyone to please put in your questions. We're going to try to answer as many as we can before we stop. I do have a question here from Steve Barnes. Steve asks, would it be possible to mark up directly on the merged model? It seems that a view must be created first, then markups are view dependent.
Okay, I think I understand your question, Steve. The markups do not need to be on a merged model. They can be on the individual models themselves, but they are view dependent. So you basically want to go into your model. You can section it, you can view it in any angle you want, and basically make your markup. You can make comments, but the moment you rotate your model, BIM 360 Glue sees that as a new view. So it is view dependent. And the reason why is when you create that view and create your comment, it's going to send a link. And when that other user opens up the link, it takes them directly to that view. But to answer your question, you do not have to make the markups in a merged model. They can live in individual models.
Thank you much, Rick. I do have a question here from Anthony. Is there an undo tool in Glue? And someone who's used it, I have not been able to find one yet. I know there's an autosave, but not an undo or redo tool.
You know, that is a great question, Anthony, and I do not know if there is a undo tool. I would be surprised if there isn't, but I haven't undone yet. So what I'll do is, if you'd like, please send your email to Mark. You'll see his email over here as mmincy@asti.com with your question, and he'll forward it to me, and I will get you an answer. But I do not know if that is currently available.
Thank you much, Rick. Jeff asked the question, are you going to demonstrate how to use an iPad in the field?
Jeff, I would love to. Unfortunately, no. We do have another webinar. You'll have to email Mark over here, and he'll give you information. We have an incredible webinar that shows BIM 360 Field, which gives you the ability to basically work in the field on your project. But no, unfortunately, that's not something I'm going to cover today. My part is just gluing. but it is an integral part, and that's an excellent lead-in question, Jeff. For those of you still on the call, BIM 360 includes different flavors, I would call it, and the first part is BIM 360 Glue. Glue gives us, as design professionals, the ability to glue the model together. The other part is Field, which works out in the field and gives you the ability to basically use your iPad as a virtual workstation where you can take snapshots and QR codes and basically walk through the model live, and that is called BIM 360 Field. If you have questions regarding Field, please email Mark and he'll tell you of our upcoming next webinar regarding that. Thanks, Jeff.
Since Bill had that similar question, again, are we going to have a webinar on BIM Field? And I believe so. Again, I'm not sure when that may be. We may have actually held one in the past, but if you want a specific demonstration, we'd glad to give that individually. So Bill, contact us, and glad to show you what Field is. I did have a question, again, along with your glue, Elmer's glue thing. The question asked, was this Elmer's glue washable, or was it a glue-all? Like?
Yes, it is washable, and matter of fact, I found out that Elmer's glue is gluten-free, according to Elmer's website. Great question.
So Andrew asked a more serious question. How do you remove resolved orange clash points?
Yes, okay, so to remove those clash points, that was the very last part, you have to update your model. So the individual consultant, in this case I was the MEP engineer, I re-glued it and updated my model. I need to go back, once it's finished gluing and the glue has dried, you go into Glue online and go back into that clash detection report before running it, because if you click on it, it'll show you still the orange dots up at the top of the screen, and you can go back and watch the video later. It will show you the model with a little orange exclamation indicating you have an older version. You need to click on the update symbol to the right of that, and it'll update the model. You rerun the clash, and as long as those clashes have been taken care of, you will no longer get orange dots. If you do get orange dots, that means that the clashes have not been resolved.
Thank you much, Rick. And we had Robert asked this question, is glue available for university students or programs? And I don't know the answer offhand, but Rick, do you happen to know offhand if it's available for university students?
I know that Autodesk provides student versions of all the software, or I should say not all of the software, but most of the software. I would be very surprised if Glue was not a software that is offered, but then again, it is a cloud-based subscription, so that might be where it crosses the line that it is not available to the teachers per se or students, but I might be wrong. But please keep in mind, if you are going to use this, you do have to, if you are a education student or a professor, you're using projects using like Revit or any of the free applications for education, you can only use it for educational purposes, not for commercial use. If you take a project or a AutoCAD file using for education purposes only and bring it into an environment like an office where it has commercial applications or regular paid full-blown versions, it'll infect the software on the other end, and basically that person, that whole project will have watermarks basically that it's been infected with for education use only. So again, you cannot use it. But good question. If you are a legitimate education or teacher, I'm not sure if Glue is part of that, but you can download the free trial for 30 days.
Okay, Rick, we've reached the time limit here, and now it's time to choose a $25 gift card for one of our participants. And so we still have quite a few people left. Let me just choose a name. And I'm going to announce the name, and if you're here, please be ready to write back a question to make sure you're here, because we do want to give it to reward those people that did attend the whole presentation. Raphael Orenday. Raphael, are you out there? If you are, I'll give you a few seconds to respond back to see if you're going to win. If not, give you a few more seconds here if I don't hear from you. Oh, there he is. He's here. Okay. So again, want to thank everyone for attending today. We hope you found this webinar informative and help your business. And we look forward to seeing you on future webinars. Have a great day.